We're probably going to have more stragglers coming in because of the terrible traffic, but I thought we'd start getting things underway. Welcome. You are at the San Francisco Online Community Meetup, and you are sitting in the TechSoup headquarters. For those of you that don't know TechSoup is a nonprofit. We are a technology organization. We assist other nonprofits with their technology needs. Our mission is that we are working toward a day when every nonprofit, library, and NGO and school or whatever, every nonprofit and NGO on the planet has the resources that they need, their technology resources that they need to better achieve their missions. I've been at TechSoup since 2000. TechSoup has been around since 1987. I was initially doing community and content stuff and running the online community team. And then I, in the past year, have moved over to a new division of TechSoup called Caravan Studios. Turning off my phone so my mom doesn't call. And Caravan Studios is our newest division, and we what TechSoup does is the main program is a product distribution program where we go with big software and hardware vendors like Microsoft, Cisco, Symantec, Adobe, and Intuit, and we partner with them, and they basically share. They donate software and technology products to us, and we pass along those donations to nonprofits for kind of a shipping and handling cost, and that social enterprise funds the rest of the organization. So that they pass that discounted technology program is our main program. And then we have several other programs. We have a data program. We are in we're in like 70 countries. We've saved the sector millions and millions of dollars. And my department, TechSoup, is Caravan Studios is the first department that actually is making apps. So we're making software for nonprofits. This is one of our apps that's in the marketplace right now. And what this app does is it finds available hotel beds with hotels that are partnered with domestic violence shelters when there's no available shelter beds. We have two other apps. One is called Range, which is currently in the marketplace, and Range is a geolocative tool to locate free summer lunches for youth. We use the data from an organization called Why Hunger. So that is an app that you can put on your phone. So anyone who wants to know where to find, and this isn't just food bank kind of situations. These are like schools, libraries, YMCAs, all different places that give out free food to youth. That's Range. And you can follow us at Caravan Studios and TechSoup at TechSoup, and I am at Suze Boop. I'm going to introduce the volunteers. Want the volunteers: Crystal, Susan, Zach, Gregory. Can you guys wave your hands? Dorothy, Mark. Who else do we have in the house who's a volunteer? Well, Lewis now works here, so but he volunteered. And these are everybody's Twitter handles. Mark Siegel in the front. Usually Ravi's with us. Mia, right there. So our volunteers are all here. We couldn't be here without them. We usually have a generous sponsorship from Iron Cactus and the Creamery of Chips and Salsa. Not tonight, but we still love them. So you should go there. The hashtag for this meetup is OCTribe. If you tweet using that hashtag, your tweets will show up right here. As you guys will see, every single month we try a different Twitter fall tool because I hate all of them, and I still haven't found one I like, and I don't like that one either. So, but we'll see. But yeah, so they're trying, like we're trying to find one, but they all suck. But anyway, your tweets will be displayed there. Before we move into the job announcements, I wanted to make kind of a little bit of a sad announcement. I don't know if you guys remember, some of you will remember, the community manager before Louis, Michael DeLong, who was here for a couple years with us. He passed away last week. He died of a heart attack suddenly and unexpectedly, so we were really, really sad about that. I wanted to let all of you know. There's a lot of different kind of online memorials going on, and you can read them on his Facebook page, which is open. So just wanted to let you guys know, and we're really, really very upset about that. So he was great. He was a great community manager. This is the Wi-Fi information. Does anyone in the room have a job to announce to the group? Susan. Sue Madigan. Because there's a live stream, so people on the live stream can hear it as well.
Hi, Livestream. Sue Madigan, your friendly recruiter for TechSoup Global. I am searching, Lewis and I are on the hunt for an online community manager contract, about 15 hours a week. Really fun org to work with, and brand new manager, so you guys can get really creative. And she will always give good advice as well, because she's the old community guru. I'm looking for a SharePoint developer who's a great tech manager as well. I am in need of an intern for our LinkedIn paid internship. So this is a full-time position for 11 weeks, and you get trained by LinkedIn, you meet with LinkedIn. It's a really awesome opportunity. And we're looking for people who have some UI, UX design. Because it's really about the volunteer platform and working with LinkedIn to help them, us, organizations identify volunteers and what their interests are across the whole sector. So it's a really dynamic new program, and they're investing a lot, and so are we.
Thanks. Anyone else have a job to announce? Is anyone looking for a job? Raise your hands high and proud. Is anyone looking just for a gig, not a job, just contract stuff? Open? It's a different market, you know, consulting. Okay, so schmooze with them afterwards. What else do I have to say? Oh, what, Sue? Oh, and Sue has business cards. JD? The live stream. It's on the Meetup page. If you go to meetup.com/OCTribe, the live stream is listed there. I just tweeted it as well. If you look at the hashtag OCTribe, someone probably retweeted it. I tweeted it there. I didn't use any link shortener because I was in a rush. What else do I have to say? I guess that's it. Thank you. Oh my God. Sorry. And Lucy has an announcement. I knew I was forgetting something. I'm kind of discombobulated today.
Don't worry, it's Wednesday. Yeah. That's how it is. I think most of you know I organise ForumCon, which is a conference for online community managers and forum owners. It's going to be a very fun day. It's on Thursday, 19th of June at the Hotel Kabuki in the city. I've just managed to arrange with the powers that be at VigLink that this meetup as well can have a special ticket. So if you go to our Eventbrite, which is forumcon2014.eventbrite.com, from 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, if you put in the promotion code OCTribe, which is capital O-C and T, a special ticket will appear, and it's a suggested donation one, but knowing that we're all in very much flux and like times are very different for everyone, you can put in nothing if you want, and I would love you to come along because it's for the community, and the community will cover the cost of the community as far as I'm concerned. So, or you can think, like, I can spend $20, but it'll be a great day. There's some pre-drinks the night before at the social study. There'll be after drinks after the event, and it'll be a great chance for networking and learning. And we've got really good speakers this year, like the co-founder of Gorka, the co-founder of Discourse, Discuss, Jeff Adward, and a whole host. You can see the agenda online. But that'll be a really great day. So you're welcome to join us. I'll put this information at the back about how to get the ticket from 7 a.m. tomorrow. And like I said, just pop in a zero if you want to. I think you should come.
Maybe you should put it at the front desk next to the Scoop.it stickers, just because there's some other paperwork there. Okay, so with that, thank you for your patience, and I'm delighted to introduce Ali Greer, who is the community manager of Scoop.it. Community director of Scoop.it, recently promoted, talking about lean content and how lean content applies to communities. So with that. Oh, and would you prefer to have popcorn-style people interrupt you, or do you rather take questions at the end? Interrupter. Okay.
I've never done a talk in a microphone before, so... So, hi everyone, I'm Allie Greer. I am Scoop.it's Director of Community and Content, as you can see behind me. A little bit about me. I've been with Scoop.it full-time for 2 years, actually in a couple weeks, and I was an intern with them before that, so I've pretty much been kind of building the Scoop.it community from zero, and I'm really excited to kind of share some of my experiences with you. Just a little shameless plug, our meetup is the Lean Content Meetup, so you can find it linked in the OCTribe meetup page. And basically what we do is we try to meet once a month or once every other month and just talk about how we can kind of make the most out of content marketing and build kind of like scrappy, startup-y content strategies without spending millions of dollars or much time because, as I'm sure most of you know from working at a startup, nobody has either one of those things. So please check out our Lean Content Meetup. We're super excited to kind of partner up with OCTribe this month, and hopefully we'll be able to work together in the future. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the community strategy at Scoop.it and kind of go through my initial failure of an ambassador program and how I kind of revamped it with content. So this is a picture of me on my first day of work ever at Scoop.it, taken by my amazing boss, Guillaume, who just walked in the red pants. And late as usual. I was going to say as usual, but I didn't want to get in trouble. So this is me on my first day of work, and I did not even know what community management was, nor that it existed in the first place. So I was lucky enough that Guillaume over there and the rest of the Scoop.it team, which happened to be overseas, kind of took a leap of faith and brought me on as a college grad to learn all about how I could become a community manager, and while in the process, pretend I actually was being a community manager and learn in many ways. And my kind of main method for learning, and still to this day, is by doing and observing. So I really just had a unique opportunity to jump right into the field that I was working in and kind of learn as I went along. So something really important that I've learned, which I'm sure you can all relate to, is that community management is more than just quote-unquote building communities, which is a pretty buzzwordy sentence, but I'm sure you can all relate to this wonderful flower-wearing cartoon lady that I found. So basically, fast forward 2 years to today, and I still honestly can't even tell you a real definition of what community management is, because how many of you in here define yourselves as a community manager? Okay. I'm sure a lot of you do different things from the other people that just raised their hand, and that's what I found in my experience. And for that reason, I'm not going to try and tell you what building community actually is or what you're supposed to do. But that said, here's my definition of how to build community. So also worth noting that I'm extremely lucky to work for a company like Scoop.it because it's a platform, which actually is a great thing and a little bit of a, I don't want to say bad thing, but something that was a little misleading to me at first. So working for a platform obviously gives me access to a community of over 1 million users, but also it's important that I keep in mind that not all these people want to be a part of this community, and just because they're a user of your platform or a customer of your brand doesn't mean that they're part of your community. And I think that was a very big distinction that took me kind of a while to make. At first I was kind of assuming oh, anyone who uses Scoop.it is part of the Scoop.it community, and now we have people that want nothing to do with us because they just want to use the tool that we have to offer. So pretty much when I first started building community at Scoop.it, I launched an ambassador program. And I had heard a lot about ambassador programs, and I had heard, if you have brand advocates and people who are ambassadors for your brand, you'll be able to spread your word a lot more quickly. And this is kind of why I have this recurring image in my presentation because you want others to kind of amplify your message for you. So what I thought was, hey, we have 1 million users. Why don't I just find people who really use Scoop.it often, and they'll be my ambassadors, and it'll be great. So what I expected was everyone to say, yay, let's all do all the Scoop.it things and spread the message and love each other and like do whatever Allie says. But what actually happened was a bunch of Scoop.it users yelling at me all at the same time because they thought that since I told them they were ambassadors, they had the rights to special support and free things, and really they expected so much out of me, but it was pretty unclear what I expected out of them, and it was hard to get them to do that without being woken up at 9 a.m. on a Saturday by an angry Scoop.it user who forgot that I was a human being. So basically, here's what I tried. In January of 2013, I launched the Scoop.it Specialist Group, which was a group of 100 power users of Scoop.it, and they were also people who were active online and had large audiences and things like that. The group lived on Google+, which actually it coincided with the launch of Google+ Communities, which is a really, really great tool for community building. But as I'll explain in a little bit, I definitely wouldn't default it because it very, very much depends if your audience actually is active on Google. I thought that I could make people active on Google by having a community there, which is stupid and wrong. So essentially what this led to was a forum-based approach to an ambassador program. So the way Google Groups work is that, you know, I would post something and then people would reply and then somebody else would post something that would get bumped to the top. And it was very like, it wasn't very much of like a home base. It wasn't like somewhere where they could go and find out what I wanted from them, what they wanted from me, how they could reach me, how we could support each other and things like that. So this ambassador program failed, and this is a really fun thing to be presenting in front of my boss, but these are the reasons why it failed, and I'm sure he can attest to all of these. So the first reason why it failed is that I relied too much on the community members. I expected that once I told them they were ambassadors, they'd be like, oh yeah, great, so that means I'm going to tweet and write about Scoop.it and tell everyone to use Scoop.it. Well, that didn't happen. The second reason is I didn't have an editorial calendar. I wasn't structured. I wasn't providing them with like a strict schedule of content. I wasn't engaging them in very specific ways. I was kind of just like conversing with them, and whenever they needed something from me, they would post, or whenever I needed something from them, I would post, and it was very unstructured. So kind of building off of that, I didn't have a way to empower them. I didn't have like an easy tool to kind of give them a package and say, okay, here's what I want from you. Take this content, take this information, take these PowerPoint slides and give a talk at a workshop. And so that kind of is what drove me to start using content to build communities. Another big issue I had was that I couldn't ignite a passion for the brand within these people. And for those of you who know me, I have a lot of passion for Scoop.it. I love what I do. I love Scoop.it. But for some reason, not everybody feels that way because, I don't know, they have their own jobs and their own companies. So I thought that, you know, these people use Scoop.it, so obviously they're passionate about it, but that's not necessarily the case. And what I actually found was that people don't use Scoop.it or any brand because they're passionate about the brand, but they're actually passionate about what that brand enables them to do. Another thing is that I didn't manage expectations, which I'm sure some of you can relate to as well. They weren't sure what I expected out of them. I wasn't sure what they expected out of me. And like I said, I would have people, you know, tweeting my personal Twitter or like sending me direct messages on Google on weekends. And so that was one of the big reasons that it failed as well. And the last two are kind of similar, but I was very reserved. I was very shy. Like listening to some community people talk about building community, it's all like, it's all about the user and it's all about your community members. And I was kind of tiptoeing around them and tiptoeing around their feelings, as cheesy as that sounds. But like, I was kind of afraid to be like, look, you're going to help me, but I'm also going to help you. I was kind of just, whatever you guys want is great. And that will definitely also backfire on you. So I kind of took these steps to go through and figure out how I could revamp this program, because a year later, last summer, or even a couple months later, it clearly wasn't working. We weren't seeing what we wanted. We weren't making any progress. So what I did was, first we acknowledged our failures, which was a really fun meeting. And we kind of talked about, what went wrong, what we could have done better, what was happening that we didn't want to be happening, and also what wasn't happening that we did want to be happening. The next thing we did is we reevaluated our goals. So we thought, let's be realistic. We're not going to be able to have 100 people being brand ambassadors for Scoop.it, because I'm one person, they're 100 people, they're busy people, they don't have this passion for Scoop.it that I have or that we have. So we were like, okay, maybe we should just have a goal of like 20 people, and instead of having 100 like semi-passionate ambassadors, we have 20 like super Scoop.it ambassadors that are like gonna fight to the death for us. And even though they're 20, they're gonna be like 5 times more outspoken and dedicated to the cause. Another thing I did was, I'm just trying to make sure I'm on the right slide. Another thing I did was to look at the successes of others, which is like a huge part of my strategy of learning by doing. I'm constantly watching other people build communities of passionate people, and I'm actually a part of a lot of communities of passionate people. And what I do is kind of, as a member, if I feel motivated to do something, I try to think like, wow, what did that person, the organizer of this community, do to make me feel that way? And I try to replicate things like that. Or like, if I'm a part of a group that like for example, I was a part of the Hootsuite ambassador program, and I felt as if I had a responsibility to Hootsuite because they were doing all this great stuff for me. And I was thinking, wow, why don't any of the Scoop.it ambassadors feel like they have this responsibility to Scoop.it the way I feel towards Hootsuite? So I kind of took a lot of experiences like that and tried to replicate the methods. And the last thing that I did, which kind of led to this whole theme of the multi-tiered community approach, is to leverage what I had, which I'll go into in more detail right now. So what I kind of did was, in order to reevaluate my goals, like I explained, we figured out what in real life could we possibly get from this community strategy. What do we want to see? We want to see a much smaller group of much more passionate people, kind of be a little more realistic in saying, hey, we want 500 people to be ambassadors. Because when it comes down to it, that wasn't going to actually get us anything. It's not, everyone says this in community, but it's not all about the numbers. It's not how many followers you have. It's not how many people are in your community. It's how active those people are. Another thing I did was kind of realize, and more importantly than realizing, accepting the fact that you can't force community. So kind of like I said before, just because somebody's a user of Scoop.it doesn't mean, or insert brand here, doesn't mean that they actually have passion for this brand. And the last thing I did in terms of leveraging what I had was to kind of identify the natural structure of the community that I was dealing with. And now I'm saying community in a little bit of a different sense, because now I actually am referring to the community of users of Scoop.it rather than this community that I was building. And I kind of found, and I'll go through what I view as the 4 tiers of the Scoop.it community in a couple slides, but what I found was that, yes, Scoop.it users are a community, but they're not going to be an active community or a passionate community, but they're still a community by definition because they all use Scoop.it. So that was kind of the bottom tier that I found. And then we did have these power users, and their purpose as a community is to use our platform and to tell about it to others, but they're not necessarily going to be, blogging about us or reporting back to me like every however often. And I kind of identified the kind of like natural rhythm of the community and tried to leverage that to build out on my concentrated efforts to actually build an ambassador community. So like I said, my first conclusion out of all of this analysis was that you can't build a community of people who don't want to be part of a community. And my second conclusion was that you can't build a community around just a brand. So this is what I kind of meant by you can't build a community of people just because they're a user of your product. You need to engage them on something that they actually care about, but the trick is figuring out what they care about and aligning it with what you care about. So we had a lot of conversations about, like we're an enterprise software, we're a B2B SaaS company. Nobody wants to build community around that because people are just using our software and they don't really care about us. They just want our amazing, incredible tool for their content marketing efforts. And what we kind of came to is what makes people want to use Scoop.it. How many of you have tried Scoop.it, just for example? Okay, the rest of you, we'll talk after. So what made you want to use Scoop.it? I'm sure it wasn't because you were like, hey, I love Scoop.it as a product. No, you were probably thinking, look, I have a love for something like content marketing or community management or Sherlock Holmes or motorbikes or something, and Scoop.it enables you to share that passion with the world. And that's why people were using Scoop.it. So we kind of thought, okay, what passion do our users have that we also have? And that kind of led us to this thing that we call lean content. So our brand messaging, as you guys might know, I know I'm getting kind of specific, but this is the best way I can explain it. Our brand messaging includes like everyone can be a media, professionals and businesses need to curate content in order to stay visible, spending small budgets on content marketing and still making an impact, sharing information within your companies to keep your teams up to date on competition and industry developments. And what we were looking for was really right there. So we were thinking, okay, we have a community of people within our user base that are also really passionate about content marketing, about digital marketing, about sharing their passions for these things. And what we found was that is the community that we're really going to be able to hone into because, as the other co-founder of Scoop.it, Mark, says, it's all about the love. It's not about the product. Like, people don't have a love for Scoop.it. They have a love for what they're using Scoop.it to share their love for. So the 4 tiers of the Scoop.it community are as such. So the first tier is the internet. This is the really ambitious tier. These people are using the internet. So how many of you are a part of this tier? Yay. So you are kind of my broadest targets, and if you are an internet user, then in my eyes, you're a potential Scoop.it user. So that is the first tier. The second tier is Scoop.it users, like I explained, although they may not necessarily feel like they want to be a part of a community, or they might not care that I sent them an email and say, hey, what's up? Message me if you want, or not that way, but a little more eloquently in the emails. But those are the people who are on Scoop.it, and they are one step closer to being part of our community than the rest of the internet, but still not at the level that they're going to be willing to take actions on their own volition. So then we have the lean content community, which is made up of also Scoop.it users, but they're passionate about this one thing. And these micro communities within Scoop.it exist. So we have communities of educators. We have communities of, animal lovers. We have communities of real estate agents. But the one that was most aligned with our brand was the community about lean content. So that's kind of the one that we can kind of adopt as our own child. And the last community is the smallest tier, and that is the Scoop.it ambassadors. So this is the freshly relaunched, previously Scoop.it specialists, but these are the ones that are not only power users of Scoop.it, but also share the passion of our brand, which is lean content. So now I'm going to talk about how I can engage these people and how you guys can in turn engage your communities with content. So, like I explained, the internet is full of potential Scoop.it users, and or should I say future, not potential. And the way we kind of engage these people is with basic content marketing, like the boring stuff. Not boring, it's really fun, but lead gen. But this is the kind of stuff that we create content for SEO, we create content to generate leads, we do content marketing. We want to reach these people and kind of bring them under our wing and tell them what we can teach them and bring them to the next level, which is Scoop.it users. So how we engage this part of the community is through our product newsletters, through our in-product messaging, through social media. That's a little bit of an assumption, but I'm assuming that most of our social media followers are Scoop.it users. Not to say that all Scoop.it users are our social media followers, but that's an assumption that I'm going to allow myself to make. And the way we kind of communicate with these people, the things they want to know about, they don't care about what we want from them. They just care about what's going on with us, how they can use our product. We can give them our blog posts, our product news, our how-to guides, our features within the products, and of course some great social content to kind of supplement that experience. And that's how we keep them around, because we need to remind them that they're using Scoop.it and we're here to help them, and we're happy to have them. So the next level is the lean content community, which some of you are actually a part of, and I hope all of you will be after this amazing talk. And the way we engage those people is kind of a little more personal. We have our Meetup group. We've held Meetups in 3 different cities now, including San Francisco. We have a Facebook group for lean content. It's a public Facebook group, so anyone who's interested in lean content can join it. And also, any previously existing members of the Meetup group were specifically invited to join this Facebook group. We also have a topic on Scoop.it about lean content, which is where we share kind of our ideas and resources about spending small amounts of money on a high impact content strategy. And with this content, we not only bring these people back to Scoop.it and back to our brand, but we also empower them to educate the rest of the community of marketers about lean content and the different tools, and kind of ourselves as Scoop.it become somewhat of a resource in this space. So I don't know if you've heard this term thought leadership, but this is kind of like our thought leadership themed community. And we keep them around with a pretty loose content calendar for our Facebook. We share resources, share information about lean content, share tools that they can use to make their marketing strategies better and things like that, and really try to like have conversation. And the last part is the Scoop.it ambassadors. This is kind of something that I'm actually experimenting with right now, and it's a lot of fun. We have a closed Facebook group to kind of maintain the exclusivity and remind them that they're here for a reason. We're also playing around with a newsletter, which just so happens to be a feature of Scoop.it. And what we can do is send a newsletter to these specific 20 people that's engaging content that's going to inspire them to spread our message. So what I can do is I can curate a topic on Scoop.it that says these are the 10 pieces of content that are awesome and related to Scoop.it and related to lean content and related to digital marketing and related to our passions and your passions, and you should share them. And as a lot of you know, the Facebook algorithm is a pain in the butt. and it favors individuals over brand pages. So that's why it's really great to kind of empower your ambassadors with content, and not only empower them to spread your message, but empower them to feel inspired to, you know, in the future do these things on their own and kind of, you know, write a blog post or keep coming back, because you want them to keep coming back. That was the problem with my failed ambassador community, is that nobody came back unless there was like a bug on Scoop.it or they wanted something for free. So this is kind of the main overview of how I keep the Scoop.it community and the non-Scoop.it community engaged through content, because honestly, without this these curated newsletters and these curated topic pages and the blog posts that I'm sharing with them and the blog posts that they're creating for me, like they have no reason to be there besides that, and of course, you know, the perks that they get for helping us. But yeah. You mean like how many people are on each level? Okay, so he's asking for just some numbers. So for ambassadors, we have about 20. The lean content community on our Meetup group is about 500 right now, and our Facebook group was actually just launched a couple weeks ago, so it's probably about 150. And Scuba users are just over 1 million right now, and the rest of the internet is a big number with lots of zeros. Yeah, so that's kind of the overview of what our community looks like and how we kind of engage each level. Of course, like with different types of content, so we have, you know, very, very specific content at the bottom and, you know, kind of broader content that maybe people might want to consume even if they're not part of Scoop.it, and then ultimately come back and move up. So these are just kind of some of the key takeaways of my last 2 years. So we have learned from your failures. My first ambassador program was a pretty big fail. Luckily, it didn't hurt anyone or cost anyone too much money, but I definitely was able to learn a lot from it. My second tip would be to channel the success of others in your own actions. I'm a part of a lot of active online communities, and I've really learned so much from them in terms of setting guidelines, managing expectations, where to host your community, how to engage people, and things like that. Leverage your community's natural structure. So kind of like I explained, there is somewhat of an organic flow of the Scoop.it community, from being an internet user to becoming a Scoop.it user to being interested in marketing to becoming a Scuba Power user and ambassador. I didn't make that up. That I just realized, I just became aware of the fact that this was happening and kind of leveraged that to my benefit. The next one is finding the passion that matches your brand messaging. A lot of brands are focused on one thing. Scoop.it isn't necessarily focused on one thing. All of our users are not passionate about the same thing, and there are a lot of other companies that have users that are all passionate about one thing, like Apple or, you know, GitHub, and like these companies, like they're all passionate developers, like using this product to further their developing needs. And on Scoop.it, we really don't have that, and I'm sure a lot of other companies, especially the ones that aren't platforms, don't necessarily have that. But there is a micro community within your customers that you could potentially align your own interests with and kind of leverage in that way. And the last and most important, in my humble content director opinion, is to engage and maintain your community via content. Because if you're not providing value to them, if you're not giving them actions to take and empowering them with easy ways to take these actions, like a curated newsletter with tweet buttons, then they're not going to do it. Because they're people too, they have jobs too, they have things they got to do, and, you know, they're not on a salary from this company. So keeping them engaged and keeping them coming back and really giving them something to come to you for is super, super important for keeping them engaged and kind of activating them to spread your message. So that's pretty much all I got. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask me them. Yes. Hi. I'm sorry. What was the last part? Okay, so he asked, what other communities have I been a part of that I've taken examples from besides Hootsuite? So one great example is I'm part of a community on Facebook that's called All Things Social, for example. There's like a couple of different ones. There's All Things Crowdfunding, All Things Social, etc. And someone who I know from, the internet, um, how I know most people, kind of sent me a message when he was starting the community and said, "Hey, Allie, I'm starting this community about social media. You know a lot about social media. Do you want to be a part of it? Here it is." And when I got there, I was like, "Oh my gosh, wow, this is like exclusive community like that I'm invited to. This is awesome." And when I got there, there was a very concrete list pinned to the top of the Facebook group that said, "Here are the rules. This is the mission statement of the group, one sentence, and here are 6 rules you have to follow. Be nice, no self-promotion, engage, share content, or you're out." And to me, I thought, okay, wow, this guy's really, really cool. So he can say that, and I'll be like, okay, sure, as long as you let me into your group. But I'm just like myself, so I can't necessarily say things like that. But I kind of actually copied his structure for my Scuba ambassador community. I did outline the rules, and I did outline the mission statement, and I did outline the goals, and I kind of learned from that that's okay. Like, that's what you're expected as the leader of a community. You are expected to outline those things. So that's another example of that. And of course, I'm sure a lot of you know the community managers community on Google+. I actually learned that communities can be very active on Google+ if their members are active on Google+. So that particular community manager meta community over there happens to have a lot of active G+ users, and I thought, wow, Google communities are awesome. But then I found that Scuba users aren't necessarily that active on Google+. So I kind of was able to compare and say, okay, maybe it's just the platform. Maybe it's not the fact that like I'm suck at being a community manager. Like, maybe I just need to go somewhere else and try something different. So I've kind of learned positive things and negative things from kind of watching other communities. Okay, so the question was, I have to repeat the questions for the live stream, I've been instructed. So the question was, how did I go from 100 people to 20 people, / how did I choose which 20 people I was going to choose out of the 100 to be a part of the 20? Quite frankly, it was much easier than I thought. I didn't close down the other group, so it actually still exists on Google. And some people still come there mostly for like support questions and things like that. But to be honest, like, one of the big things that was failing about it was there was only a group of 20 people that were really being active. So I kind of took all the people who are in this group now were part of the group before, and they were the most active members of that group. So they were the people who were commenting on everything and sharing everything and kind of taking the actions that I wanted them to take without even me doing a great job of like encouraging those actions. And what I did was I actually took this tactic from this guy who invited me to the social media community on Facebook. And before adding them to the group, I sent them a personal email and I said, look, I want to add you to this group. I think you'd be an amazing addition because, like you guessed, like, they were online influencers, they're active online, they have networks, they're bloggers, and they're also avid users of Scoop.it. And I kind of said to them, look, I want to put you in this group. Like, I think you deserve to be there. I think I would love to have you there. But these are the rules. And if you don't feel like it, that's okay. And I kind of like, so that's kind of how I filtered out the people. I was very like candid and very human with them and kind of just said, here's what's going to happen. if you want to be a part of it, awesome. If not, no hard feelings. And so I kind of just picked the people who were the most active in my previous community and turned them into their own little micro community, and now they kind of like play off of each other and are even more active than they were before. No, I do. He asked if I do anything to incentivize them, which I do. I give them, premium features on business for free, and I share their content. They write on the Scoop.it blog, which is kind of beneficial for them and for us because we have pretty decent distribution network, and they want to promote themselves as well. And basically, I call it working together because we'll support them at conferences and things like that. So. Yeah. So, how did you know that? Yeah, so another thing I use this community for is since we're a developing product and we're trying to, become the best we can possibly be for both our community and for us as a company, like Krista said, we actually ask these people, what do you think about this? If this was a new feature that I was going to launch tomorrow, which I am, and you have it already, what do you think about it? Like, use it for 3 days and tell us, what we can change about it, or like write a blog about it. Here's exclusive information. So that is actually, we had a big release last summer, and our ambassador community was a huge part of that release because we asked them, what are your pain points of Scoop.it? What do you hate about Scoop.it? And they told us. And and we kind of took those things and we actually listened to them. And I think, like Krista pointed out, that's a really, really big part of why they became and continue to become active in this community. Yeah, so now it's on Facebook now. So it's a little more personal, which I think is kind of cool. Also, we just found that a lot of our users, or I found that a lot of these people were a lot more active on Facebook than they were on Google. So I decided to try Facebook, and it definitely worked. Okay, so the question was, do we do everything online, or do we kind of give these people the royal treatment in person? For now, we've met face-to-face with about a quarter of this group. It's really hard to kind of do that, especially because they're all over the country, and actually some of them are in Canada and France. So our goal for this year is to meet more of them. So actually part of our community goals with this strategy was to pick a number and say, we're going to meet this many of these people, and we're just going to fly and like host a lean content event in their city and things like that. And of course, when we do that, we bring, the whole 9 yards. We bring the pizza, the beer, the t-shirts, like everything, and kind of like throw them a party in their city. And we've done that in a couple cities in the US. But we're still on a startup budget, so we're not exactly able to have them all here, which is kind of sad, but it's also kind of cool because they're kind of like bringing our voice out there, and we give them, to use your words, as much as the white glove treatment as we possibly can over the internet for now. Did you hear that, Guillaume? So yeah, eventually that would be an ideal goal. Yes, thank you. So the question was, is there an official agreement or contract that they had to sign? And the answer is no. Quite frankly, I didn't even think about that. It sounds really intimidating. um, I don't, I don't think that we're really at the level that we're like, spending that much on like making them happy that we need to make sure that they give back to us, because right now it's really focusing on building the relationships that make them want to, like, I want you to want to share my content kind of thing. So, like, it's not really about, I don't want to make it any more, like, complicated than it should be. And basically, I mean, we're not really, like, giving them much information that they, like, can't share or things like that. So it's more of a friendly environment. Do you want to come up here? So we do a bunch of different things to kind of highlight them within the community. The question was, how am I spotlighting my ambassadors? We are constantly featuring them on the site. So, like I said, this is another one of those aspects where we're lucky to have a platform that we can use to actually highlight our top users. We have featured topics on Scoop.it. We have, new members automatically follow XX and X topics. That's edited by me. So I kind of put the Scoop.it ambassadors in those categories. We also have, I don't know if you guys saw, but we have this awesome new media called TLDR because the internet is too long to read, and if you didn't read it, then we can show you the best of it on tldr.scoop.it. And we feature the top curators there. They're constantly visible. Our community knows about them. They write on our blog. We tweet their topics. We have a recommendation function on Scoop.it where we're recommending their topics, and kind of just try to feature them on social media, and of course within the Scoop.it platform as much as we can, and also by getting them to guest blog about us, not about us, for us. And then when they do blog about us, we always share their content kind of on our blog and stuff like that. Any other questions? So I actually have like two kind of like guest writer programs. So one is solely guest writers. There are people who are Scuba users, or there are people who are just bloggers who are looking to, get out there and get published. And that's a very organized program. I kind of like have daily, weekly meetings with them and figure out what they're going to write. As far as our ambassadors as guest bloggers, it's more of like, kind of going back to like discussing the new features. Like when we launched our integration with Google authorship, you're now able to add Google authorship to your Scoop.it topic. And that's when I would kind of turn to my ambassadors and be like, look, does anybody here know a lot about Google authorship? Because I don't. So does anyone know about this topic? And does anyone want to write a blog post? And we actually had one of our ambassadors, Mike Alton, write an amazing blog post on Google authorship that completely blew up, especially on Google+, probably because it was about Google. But, it's kind of like try to use them as an extension of our brain and as an extension of what we know and what we can kind of teach to our readers. And then sometimes we'll just be having discussions and somebody will be like, yeah, you know what? That's a really good point because blah, blah, blah. And then it'll just kind of like turn into a blog post. And then, of course, like I'll always post from time to time like, hey, we're short on content. Does anybody feel inspired? But mostly anything that they're going to write about is going to be within our line. And if it's not, we just kind of work with them to kind of, I want them to be inspired. I don't want them to feel like that I'm forcing them to write something. Is there another question? No? So this is actually a really, question was, how did we explore the goals that we wanted out of our ambassadors? This is actually a really, really tough question. Another reason why the original ambassador program failed was because we didn't actually do this in a very structured way at the beginning. we just were kind of like, yeah, we have to do an ambassador program because everybody does that. And then afterwards, we kind of look back on what, like I said before, what they didn't do that we would have liked, and what they did do that we didn't like. And not that we like didn't like stuff they did, but like, for example, treating it like a support line, like a direct support line. Like, we didn't want that. That's not the point of an ambassador program. So what we did was we kind of had some long conversations on like, what can we benefit from this specific group of people. So for example, this specific man, you know, Martin Smith, Scoop.it user, blogs like 3 times a day. Like, that's his job. Like, he is an amazing blogger, super detailed. So we were like, okay, we are going to get that guy to work with us and produce content for us. And so that goal is to have 5 blog posts written about Scoop.it on these 4 blogs. And then moving on, like, okay, we have this ambassador who is super into hosting meetups. So we want them to kind of, you know, host a lean content meetup in their city without us having to go there. So we kind of took it on a very, very specific basis, which was kind of lucky for us because we have a small program and we're just experimenting still. So it started out with like, oh, we're going to have, you know, 25 ambassadors and 15 activations, and I don't know what activations is, but that was the KPI. So we were like, okay, at the end of the quarter, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 15 blog posts that mention Scoop.it, done. But really, that doesn't mean anything. So what we kind of did was hone in on what is this activation, and like literally like specifically what can each person bring to us, and like how can we help them do that. So it's kind of on a very specific basis. Anyone else? No? Okay. Cool. Well, thanks for having me.